Bikers threaten the safety of her patient.
That's ridiculous.
There's a royal visitor as the crew take delivery of a new helicopter.
Do you bring them in through the side door or do you bring them in through the...
We do.
And there's a risky landing on one of the UK's busiest motorways.
Left tail clear, you're looking well over the road now.
Yorkshire's flying paramedics see some of the worst things that happen to the county's 5 million people. Most of HeliMed 99's crew are parents themselves and they find it doubly difficult to deal with accidents when the victims are children.
At Yorkshire's ambulance control room, a frantic mother is on the line.
My little girl's been run over by a horse. By a horse? She went straight through the gate. She was through the side. We were on the side of her. Oh, please! Calm down. We need to help her. There's some blood. There's blood everywhere.
Hello, Darling Alpha, Roger. Lift at your discretion. Air taxi to holding point Lima 1.
HeliMed 99 can reach 150 miles an hour. If pilot Steve Cobb could fly faster, he'd do it this morning.
3-year-old being knocked down by a horse. Initially not breathing, but she's breathing now. Oh dear.
Basically, we're just going to have to deal with what we find. We don't know exactly what's happened until we actually get there, so there's no point in getting all worked up about anything until we know what we're being faced with.
Lynn, we've got a helicopter coming as well, because they'll be quicker. Please, Lynn, we've got somewhere for them to land. Yes, they can land anywhere. They're like in the stubble field next to us. Nothing. Field next to the farm, they can land there.
Nobody likes dealing with seriously ill children. It does touch a nerve with most of us. So obviously we just try and do the best way we can.
Mummy's here, darling. Stay with Mummy. Will you please keep breathing? Please. Keep breathing, darling. Amelia, how long are they going to be? They're not too far away now, just be a couple of minutes, they're not far.
But there's a problem. One that means HeliMed 99 might never reach its patient.
I'll just let you know back, gentlemen, we just got a chip light on the gearbox.
The gearbox that drives the chopper's rotor could be breaking up.
Transmission chips, yellow transmission chips on procedures, reduce airspeed to below 100 knots.
They look calm, but this emergency is serious and the danger is real. They're doing it by the book.
Temperature and pressure sound fine. If indications normal, land as soon as practicable. Okay. If indications abnormal, land as soon as possible. Okay, as soon as practical is next planned landing, non-stop, which is where we're going, we're almost there anyway. It may be that we can't actually transport, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, okay? Roger.
They've made it. The chopper's on final approach to the field where the accident happened. The ground ambulance crew have reached little Amelia Tinkler. She has a suspected fractured skull and her mum Lynn is terrified. The 2-year-old was hurt in a freak accident when her pet pony kicked a steel gate that swung and hit her.
I've got a 2-year-old toddler here, knocked by a horse and flung right across, well, about 50 yards across the field, and the gate as well.
Right.
No obvious chest sounds are clear. We've got a head injury, but I think the blood's in her mouth.
We've just had a warning light come on our way up here, so we're just ringing engineering. We might not be able to go anywhere.
Right, have you got any suction?
Yes.
Could you get some suction so
Absolutely.
at least we can clear away airway?
Amelia is seriously ill. She's bleeding heavily and they need to keep her airway clear.
Good girl, Minky.
Oh, she's gone quiet.
I think so.
She's
I
just
brought
tired
two
out,
when you were there.
She's alright though, she's still breathing.
It's extremely serious at the moment. I think she's been hit by a little pony as the pony's jumped over the fence. Initially she was unconscious, but she has to come round. The fact that she's crying out in pain, although distressing for Mum and Dad, it is a good sign for us that at least she's conscious. What we don't want is to go quiet and as a result of that stop breathing.
Steve's on the case trying to confirm whether the warning light on his cockpit panel is genuine or a false alarm. Paramedic Simon Kavanagh's trying to keep Amelia's spirits up.
All right, Amelia.
Thank you for sure.
Thank you for sure. Just going to get that blood out of your mouth. Whoa, there we go.
Good girl, Minky.
There we go. That's much better.
Amelia's an hour from specialist care by road. It's time she may not have.
Sweetheart. Try and stay still for me.
This is her parents' worst nightmare. But pilot Steve could face a heartbreaking decision. Balancing the life of a little girl against the safety of himself and his crew, they can't take off unless the fault is fixed. Coming up on Helicopter Heroes, Steve turns mechanic in an attempt to put his chopper back in the air.
The safety of the aircraft and the crew has got to be considered as well.
Helimed 99 gets a sister ship as the air ambulance service expands.
It's a really nice machine to fly.
And paramedic Lee opens the door 100 feet up to help with a life-saving landing on an urban motorway.
Off-road biking is a booming sport and the dangers are obvious, which is why Helimed 99 is often called to those that have taken on the rugged Yorkshire terrain and come off second best.
The motorcycle trials area, Flappit's quarry at Denholm, get plenty of jobs there, but this is two separate incidents with two motorcyclists injured.
Flappit's quarry in West Yorkshire is a magnet for off-road bikers like Paolo Galoni. He was catapulted off his bike and landed heavily. He hasn't moved since. He needs help fast, and the land ambulance can't get near him. As the crew circles the scene, there appears to be only one biker injured, but this isn't going to be a straightforward landing as hundreds of bikers career around the quarry.
They'll all pile up there, won't they, when they see us? Yeah.
Do we want to wait till the police have actually secured that area?
I don't think it's the police, I think it's the op supervisor.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Around there.
Yeah.
Does it?
Pilot Steve has landed here many times before, but he knows many of the bikers will ride towards the scene, and in the past, bikers have even ridden underneath the helicopter as it's landing.
Yeah, we sometimes have problems with the landing areas when we have no control of the amount of people or equipment that's down there. Sometimes we arrive and people just running about everywhere, riding the bikes, whatever, and we sometimes can't see exactly what's going on.
Still people whizzing about like idiots. But there's also this one down here.
To make matters worse, the police haven't arrived to secure the area. If pilot Steve thinks it's unsafe to land, they'll have to leave a patient, with the paramedics knowing he needs their help.
Very, just needs, let's go straight down there.
It's with you.
We need to make sure that everybody in the aircraft's looking outside and try and make sure that the area is secure, but it's not always easy when you can't see, particularly underneath the aircraft. Once you're on the final part of the approach, the landing area is generally blocked out and it gets quite tricky. Yeah.
Paolo's in luck. The bikers stay far enough away so Steve can land. But the danger's not over. As paramedics Pat and Sammy start to treat the patient, Steve and the helicopter are surrounded by bikers.
Coming down that hill, I just fell off at motorbike and it fell on top of me.
He's taken a knock to his lower leg on his right leg. So we're just cutting the boot off to have a look at see what's going on. Is it in there where I'm pressing? Yeah. All right, Paolo.
This is a dangerous situation. Bikes are racing past just yards from where Pat and Sammy are trying to treat Paolo.
Guys, turn it off or away. God, they always make this much noise.
With the motorbikes flying around, a lot of them are watching where they're going and they're too busy watching what's going on here rather than watching where they're going, and there's potential for one of them to come off and cause another accident. So you're looking at probably 2 or 3 patients. So yeah, you can get a bit noisy and a little bit wild at times. I think so.
Right, have you ever had gas and air? Okay, this is the same stuff that women deliver babies on, all right? Might make your voice sound a little bit funny, but we're not worried about that if you're not.
But before they can do anything, they must stabilise Paolo's leg and ensure they don't become casualties themselves.
Good luck. We'd just like protecting, please, and a bit of less noise around the patient, because that's ridiculous. Driving up to him like that.
Can Pat and Sammy get their patient into the helicopter before anyone else gets hurt? Coming up on Helicopter Heroes, even the police have their hands full taming the off-road bikers.
It's not nice and it's not safe.
Pilot Steve's under pressure. 2-year-old Amelia's life could depend on his DIY skills.
Just in a bit of trouble getting this plug back on here at the moment.
And on the M60, airlifting an injured driver will mean a difficult landing.
You're not going to be able to land where we are now, copy.
It costs £3,500 a day to keep one of these things in the air. You'd have to play in the Premier League just to afford one. Now, the people of Yorkshire have a reputation for being perhaps a little careful with their money, but no one minds putting their hands in their pocket when the chopper that you're buying could save your life.
There is 6,000 square miles of Yorkshire. It's the biggest county in England, and 10% of the UK's population live there. Helimed 99, the Yorkshire Air Ambulance, is busy.
Probably got the biggest motorway network in the whole of the UK. And a lot of very rural, remote places. So if we get, for example, a horse rider fallen who's seriously injured and a road traffic accident at the same time, it's a question of which do we go to, which is the most serious incident.
Helimed 99 took 300 people to hospital last year, and they could have flown more.
Going down a bit of a slope, but you are safe.
It is a dilemma, but the answer would be to have 2 aircraft so that we're able to respond to those 2 emergencies at the same time. And that is one thing that we're aiming towards, to purchase a second aircraft to enable us to respond and be more resilient when we're faced with 2 emergencies coming in roughly at the same time.
A large package has arrived for the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. It's been shipped over from Jakarta via Tilbury Docks and then on a lorry to an airbase in Gloucestershire. Wrapped in vast amounts of bubble wrap is the answer to mixed prayers, a second Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Mick and his new pilot Tim Taylor have come down to pick up the new helicopter, call sign Helimed 98.
Yeah, it's good. It's looking the part. I can't wait to take it out of the hangar and fly it. As long as I don't scratch the paint on the way back to Sheffield.
Helimed 98, there's nothing known to affect your immediate departure.
I've been looking forward to it for ages. It's like buying a new car. We're just missing a bunch of flowers now. Got lots of brand new equipment, new moving map, weather radar, wire cutters, new medical fits. It's a really nice machine to fly.
Back in Sheffield, paramedics Pat and Lee have formed a welcoming committee.
It's been a long time coming, but we've finally got there, and this is its arrival today. None of us have seen it, obviously, yet, so we've been waiting all day and setting up the first time in Yorkshire for it, yeah.
Years in the planning, and finally it's here. The paramedics are keen to give their new helicopter the once-over.
Feels fantastic, and what you see here is what the people of Yorkshire have bought. All their hard work, all the charity fundraising, all the input from everybody around Yorkshire. This is the machine that belongs to them now. It's a great day, really. Everybody's really happy to be looking round it. Hopefully it'll do a lot of missions and save a lot of lives.
And the next day, Helimed 98 is off on its first mission. They may have a new state-of-the-art computerised navigation system in the front, but in the back, the navigation system has gone horribly wrong as Pat struggles to unfold his brand new map of North Yorkshire.
New maps.
The crew are on their way to the Dales.
This is the first job for the new aircraft, so exciting times, and obviously it's Virgin run, so we'll see how we get on.
The new helicopter makes good time at 150 miles an hour, and it doesn't have to follow the windy B roads down there.
Does that look like them, do you think?
Coming down a hill at speed, a cyclist has hit a dry stone wall at the bottom. There was only ever going to be one winner.
He just misjudged the bend, so it missed a car and hit the post on the gate.
Well done. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's in there, does it, Kevin? Yeah.
Kevin Thompson needs to get to hospital. An eyewitness has said he's been out cold for 5 minutes, much too long. His face is battered and he has shoulder and chest injuries. Pilot Tim finds out that in this job, he has more to do than just fly the chopper.
It's obviously quite a nice place for him to come cycling. It's a lovely day up out in the Dales. But because of where we are and the distance to the nearest hospital and he's got some pain, then we're going to fly him to Harrogate, which is about 12-15 minutes away maximum, and let him get checked out there.
Pat's worried about his patient's head injury, and before they set off, he wants to check out the evidence.
What's his cycle helmet like? Is it damaged?
This helmet has done its job.
Cracked right way through at front.
If Kevin hadn't been wearing one, things could have been much worse. Pilot Tim is pleased with the way his first flight is going.
It's doing what it says on the tin. I just hope they put some newspaper on the floor so we don't muddy it up too much.
And with his patient safely on board, the helicopter's computers plot a route to take him to hospital.
Yeah, Harrogate. All displayed on there. Beautiful.
A few minutes later and they touch down on Harrogate Stray, right next to the hospital. And their patient is in the hands of the doctors. Helimed 98's crew are pleased with the way the new helicopter has performed.
It seemed to go really, really well, and it seems to be nice, easy fit to work around inside. And so yeah, it's worked out all right. Patients transferred well, and we've dropped him off at Harrogate Hospital, and the doctors are seeing him now.
And with Helimed 98's first mission successfully done, Tim and the crew head back to their new base at Sheffield Airport. Ahead is another important day. It's royal visit time. The Duke of York, a former helicopter pilot, is dropping in to officially open the unit. Lee's technical skills are once again in demand.
Lee, how did you use the vacuum cleaner?
Oh, aye.
As well as his cleaning duties, Lee has also been brushing up on his royal protocol.
It is my first time meeting a royal. I had to have a quick word with somebody to see how to see what to say in reply if he spoke to me. And obviously it's Your Royal Highness and then Sir. So we'll see how we go.
It's time for Lee to put his meeting and greeting training to the test.
How's that,
The Duke of York takes great interest in air ambulance work. He flew Sea King helicopters during the Falklands War and still regularly flies.
And to get a patient in and out,
yeah,
do you bring them in through the side door or do you bring them in through the...
We do. The side door on there obviously opens and we can just...
It's a flying visit, but an important one for the air ambulance, and Lee says goodbye the only way he knows how.
You can always pop in for a brew if you like.
now that I know that you're here, I'll do that.
They're only human at the end of the day, aren't they? He'll have a cup of tea like anybody else will. So he knows that he can come and see us.
Coming up on Helicopter Heroes. Helimed 99's under siege by bikers as the medics try and treat an injured rider.
I don't think they appreciate quite how dangerous and how it would render us inoperable if they just bumped her.
And a woman driver is fighting for her life, but the crew have to find a landing site on an urban motorway.
Okay, you're looking well over the road now.
Compared with cars or even motorbikes, helicopters are not the safest way to travel, which is why Helimed 99's pilots sometimes have to make tough decisions in the interest of safety.
Yeah.
Amelia is 2 years old and critically ill. Her mum Lynn is frantic. She saw what happened. She was hit by a metal gate after a pet pony kicked it. Her skull is fractured and she's bleeding heavily. She needs to get to neurosurgeons quickly. But Helimed 99 may not be able to help.
We do have a transmission chip light, which means we can fly on to our next point of landing, which is obviously where the detail is. I'll have to ring engineering then and see what they say. It may be that we can actually transport.
Amelia must get to hospital fast. Steve is trying to fix the chopper in a stubble field, whilst the paramedics treat Amelia in a paddock.
Oh dear.
The blood in her mouth is blocking her airway. Simon needs to use a pump to suck it out.
There we are, it's better, isn't it?
Up, darling. That'll make it feel better.
Although she's only 2, Simon reassures his patient. He's got a 3-year-old himself. This comes naturally.
Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to put you on a little special stretcher, okay? Diddy Teddy's coming.
Diddy Teddy.
Mummy's here. Everybody's here, all right. So you're quite safe.
It's time to move Amelia, very gently.
Oops, I still got that coat. Get that coat.
Can we get that out, do you think, sweetheart?
We can have her on the side.
As well as everything else, she may have a spinal injury. Steve is still trying to fix the chopper's gearbox. The paramedic crew still don't know whether the helicopter can fly Amelia to the treatment she so desperately needs.
We're just going, for the moment, we're just going to transfer the little girl onto the ambulance, just a little bit warmer for her.
Do you want to put a monitor on it, Paul? She's only light, isn't she?
We should do in the next 2 or 3 minutes where the helicopter's going to be fit to fly, so we'll make a decision then what we're going to do. Okay. All ready? Yep. Yeah, on 3, 1, 2, what's the suction unit? 1, 2, 3.
Behind the scenes, Helimed 99's engineers have been constantly on the phone to Steve, helping him sort out the gearbox problem. Everyone knows Amelia's life depends on it. And back at the helicopter, there's good news.
Clean the plug off, and then we're going to fly this flight and then have another look when we get to the other end and see what we see from there. Just having a bit of trouble getting this plug back on here at the moment.
Paul Simon, if you can hear me, we will fly her. Repeat, we will fly her.
For obviously the safety of the aircraft and the crew has got to be considered as well. But engineering says it's fine to go, so we'll go with that.
We're going to fly up to James Cook, which is the nearest hospital that can deal with paediatric neuro. So it's in the best interest of the little girl that we take her up there. Hi Chris, it's Paul.
It's what everyone wanted to hear. And with Steve still working in the engine bay, Amelia is loaded into the aircraft for a 10-minute flight to the waiting surgical team. It's been a tense and exhausting time for all the paramedics and crew, but most of all, for Amelia's mum. Steve the pilot could have been faced with a terrible decision, having to say he couldn't fly Amelia, but today things worked out. She will be on her way soon. With the final catches closed on the engine bay, Steve can get ready for takeoff. Amelia is being prepared for the short flight to Middlesbrough. She needs oxygen to help her breathe, and her mother Lynn is coming too. Helicopter pilots are always cautious. They fly complex machines and errors of judgment can cost lives, but Steve has made sure Helimed 99 is fit to make this vital flight. In the back, Amelia has stopped crying. Her eyes look blank. Her mum watches everything. Paramedic Simon Kavanagh's job is to monitor Amelia during the flight. He knows children can recover quickly or go downhill fast. Everyone is worried.
She's still breathing?
Oh yeah. I'll get a lot more animated if something bad happens, don't worry. Okay. Pulse is nice and strong and steady, and her breathing's nice and steady as well. No reason to believe she's got any nasty long limb fractures or anything like that. Okay. Her lungs are nice and clear and they're moving how they should be.
Hey, pre-landing police ball. Doors, pilots, safe locked.
Both safe locked ramp.
The intercom tells everyone that they have reached their destination. Helimed 99 and its precious cargo have made it.
The thing with children is they tend to get ill very quickly. 1 minute they can be fine and talking to you, and the next minute they can be, stop breathing. A lot of the paramedics and technicians up and down the country, we've all got children, and it's the type of job that anybody hates.
Paramedic Simon goes with Amelia and her mum into the trauma unit. Surgeons are waiting to operate. Amelia is critically ill and the crew are exhausted, physically and emotionally drained.
Yes, I've got a son who's 3, so it's little people hurt. It's just awful. It's the worst sort of job you can get in the ambulance service. Anything to do with kids. It's not only because little people hurt, but it's also the trauma the relatives have, and it's just awful. It really is awful.
Coming up, will Amelia recover from her terrible head injuries? And lights, pylons and trees, but they've got to land here.
How far away from it? You're only talking about 10 foot from the glade.
Back at a disused quarry in West Yorkshire, the paramedics are trying to treat a rider who's come off his bike and paid the price in pain.
I was coming down that hill and I just fell off at motorbike and it fell on top of me.
Despite hundreds of bikes careering across the site, Helimed 99 has managed to land. Paramedics Pat and Sammy are trying to treat Paolo Galoni, who's broken his leg, but this is an increasingly dangerous situation.
Good luck. We'd just like protecting, please, and a bit of less noise around the patient, because that's ridiculous, driving up to him like that. It's quite intimidating with all these bikers and noise and charging up at you and just throwing a bit of dirt at the patient as they're coming around. It's not nice and it's not safe.
Keep taking the gas.
Before they can load Paolo onto the helicopter, they must stabilise his broken leg, and that means a painful move into a splint.
Straighten this one out for us, Paolo, as well. That's it. Right, Paolo.
Shake it right up, right behind you now. Can you just shuffle your bottom over a little bit?
Well done, Paolo. That's it.
Paolo is in a lot of pain and he's been lying on the hard ground of the quarry for over half an hour. Don't be fooled by the sunshine, it's a cold day, and without Helimed 99, Paolo will be facing a chilly and painful stretcher journey to an ambulance over a mile away. Instead, he'll be in hospital within minutes.
Paolo.
I'm alright.
You sure you're alright now? Now it's been splintered up?
Yeah, I feel
okay.
But there's still time for another biker to nearly cause yet another accident.
I can't believe how close he was then. Practically underneath the road ahead. I don't think they appreciate quite how dangerous and how it would render us inoperable if they just bumped her.
Okay, I'll clear the left.
Clear left.
Clear rear right.
Just go straight up to a high hover with all this dust around.
Okay.
Even in the helicopter, the crew are still in danger. Pilot Steve must lift off quickly to prevent him being blinded by the clouds of dust.
Lead approach low, Helimed 99 Alpha. And Helimed 99 Alpha is about to let down at Airedale.
And there's still time for another twist in this rescue.
Cows in the way, Sammy. Cows on the road.
Oh, fuck. It's going to be a bit of a delay, Pat. There's cows blocking them.
The ambulance on its way to transfer Paolo to Airedale Hospital is stuck. With the stray cattle safely back in the field, Paolo can finally begin the last leg of his journey to hospital.
All right. So shall I just stand on this leg?
You can put that one down to the ground.
Down to the ground.
Yeah?
And slow yourself nice and steady. That's it, Paolo.
All right, should we go down a little bit so you haven't got to do the splits? It was a bit of a challenge. It's always a messy, sort of uncoordinated job because invariably we land as close to the patient as we can get. The road crew always have to walk a certain distance, and I never feel safe around my patient until the police have arrived and secured all the bikers.
Coming up on Helicopter Heroes. Down on the farm where little Amelia Tinkler was hurt, they're waiting for news from intensive care.
When you're driving, statistically the motorway is the safest place to be. You may be doing 70, but at least everyone else is going in the same direction. Trouble is, when things go wrong, reaching you can be very difficult. It's
usually Helimed 99's life-saving paramedics that get all the attention, But today it's the turn of Chief Pilot Steve Cobb to take centre stage. On the outskirts of Manchester, a car has careered off the M60 motorway. The driver has suffered a huge impact and is seriously injured. Numerous emergency services are already on the scene, but they know they're missing one piece of vital equipment, a helicopter.
Yeah, Manchester Control, Helimed 9 now, and be about 9 minutes over.
This would normally be a job for the Northwest Air Ambulance, but they're out on another emergency. Helimed 99 must travel over 40 miles to do the job.
It looks to be quite a large intersection where several major routes combine. So it's a requirement for the pilots and for safety that both carriageways are closed when we're going to land on the carriageway. So that's already been pre-prepped and we can go straight in, hopefully.
As Helimed 99 approaches the scene, there's a problem.
The Downing ditch, look.
I see him waving.
Yeah, they've gone off on slip.
The incident is not on a dual carriageway, it's on a narrow slip road. It's an incredibly tight landing site and there are obstacles everywhere.
Okay, Steve, you got wires, you got the tall wires, mate.
Yeah, a bit nasty those, aren't they?
Yeah, somebody stood in the middle of that road, the little slip road where they all are. There's some quite stanchions on the left, the light stanchions.
There's wires here, stanchions there, under
Steve's landed in some tight spots before, but this is going to be close.
Yeah. Got a light stanchion in my 4 o'clock, but we're going to be clear of that, and then you're no more on the right hand side as far as I can see.
Now, wires behind us, Steve. Okay, you're well clear of the wires now on your left.
And we're over the wood at this point. Can I crack the door at all?
Yeah,
it's such a tight landing, Lee opens the door to make sure they don't hit anything.
Are we below the high of them? We're still higher than them at the minute.
Steve's under immense pressure. Trees, pylons and roadside lights are just feet from the helicopter blades.
Okay, Cobby, you're not going to be able to land where we are now, Cobby.
No, I was not. Would we get down to the stanchions there?
Yeah, okay, and then swip underneath. Turn right.
It's touch and go. Steve knows the patient needs them, but this is dangerous.
Yeah, tail is clear, Steve. Still clear left. Tail's clear, you're looking well over the road now. You need to maybe come in 1 foot. If you can, that's it, you're well clear. Well clear, you've got 4 foot from the edge, you're on the road. Clear tail left.
He's done it. They're down and everyone can breathe a huge sigh of relief.
Great, well done, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
They're safe, but what about the patient? This is Nazaha Rajani, and she's in a bad way. Firefighters have freed her from the wreckage, but she could have serious spinal injuries. Lee now takes over. He must get Nazaha onto the helicopter and into hospital as fast as possible.
Your blood pressure's been a bit low.
As Lee and Tony hook Nazaha up to their life-saving equipment, pilot Steve inspects his makeshift helipad.
Yeah, this one's tight. Yes, it's a motorway, but it's more of just a link road between the two main motorways, so it's only in effect a dual carriageway. It's obviously down in a ditch as well, a bit of a cutting. You think you're closer than you really are, so you're a little bit more careful than you really need to be. It works in our favour.
But Steve can't relax yet. He's got to do exactly the same again, but this time in reverse.
Okay, so I'm going to lift up initially in the hover, do a 180.
Okay.
To the left, so if you want your tail coming out of your way, Lee, please.
Yeah.
Tail is clear for lift. Okay, Lee, coming out of your way.
Tail is clear, right. Keep it coming, Steve. Keep it coming. Yeah, still clear. Come round. Clear of the stanchion on the right in the 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, mate. Just forward a touch if you can. Just forward 2. That's good, mate. And you're clear at that. You can go straight up. You're closing the door.
Thank you. Hey, clear to your left.
Door closed and safe locked.
Window. Hey, clear for trees to your left. Thank you.
And clear rear right, Steve. You're well clear. Got pylons out to the right, the wires, mate.
Okay.
We're not above them yet.
We'll just jump it off to the left then for a minute.
Okay.
Mix in with the wind.
All clear.
Okay, thank you.
Well done, bud.
Thank you all.
Team effort there. Excellent. Like that.
Thanks to Steve, Nazaha has been given the best chance of making a full recovery, and she'll be receiving hospital treatment in just 10 minutes.
Clear the stanchion.
You're not clear of this car on this side yet, Steve.
Okay, where to go, yeah?
Keep coming, yeah. Keep coming.
Fortunately, there's a nice big helipad at Manchester's Wythenshawe Hospital.
Keep coming.
And we're clear on that end. That's good.
Steve might take the plaudits for this particular success story, but it's also relied on good old-fashioned teamwork.
She's in the best place now and get the best of help.
It's quite a difficult landing, that quite tight. Obviously we're landing on the carriageway, lamp stanchions on both sides of the road, including a lot of trees, a lot of vehicles, a lot of emergency vehicles. So it's quite a tight landing. The pilot did really well to get us down where he got us. I mean, everybody's aware that in them situations, to keep us safe, we've all got to look out and point out where the hazards are. Beneath you, above you, to the side of you. It's quite interesting when the pilot said how far away from the lamp stanchions. I said, well, a few feet. He said, what, above them or below them? So it just gets you thinking, yeah, it's just 360 degrees, up and down, just total awareness.
Now let's catch up on the case of Amelia Tinkler, the little girl whose skull was fractured in 3 places in a freak accident on the family farm in North Yorkshire. Just 2 years old and clinging on to life.
Oh, she's gone quiet.
Amelia's mum Lynn is understandably frantic.
She's all right though, she's still breathing.
The powerful combination of a horse and a swinging metal gate impacting on a very fragile little skull has left Amelia critically injured. She needs an emergency operation soon. By the time Helimed 99 arrived at James Cook Hospital, the surgical team were waiting for Amelia. They spent 3 hours in theatre operating on her fractured skull.
Bless her. You're a very special little girl, aren't you? She's tired. Very pretty girl.
For 2 weeks, Mum Lynn has not left Amelia's bedside.
She's got 3 skull fractures, 2 jaw fractures. She's got 1 there which has been plated, and it's got 2 plates and screws and everything. The plates are 1 millimetre thick and the screws are 3 millimetres. And a broken arm just above her elbow. But she's sitting up a bit better now.
Amazingly, Amelia has bounced back from her injuries. During her 9-day vigil at the bedside, Mum Lynn has had plenty of time to relive what could have been.
Thought she was dead. Oh, it was the scariest thing I've ever seen. But it's scary when you're on your own as well, nobody there. That poor woman on the phone, when I rang the ambulance. Oh, I think she got some grief, didn't she?
Can you see a chest right falling? Yeah. Yeah. Just tell where is the ambulance, please? Lynn, you need to listen to me. Tilt that head back. It'll just help her airway while she's like this, Lynn.
The lady on the end of the phone wanted to keep me on the end of the phone. She wouldn't let me ring her because I said, can I ring somebody? I'm on my own. She said, no, I'd rather you stop on the phone. Oh, dear me. Bless you.
And no one is happier Amelia is feeling better than ambulance dispatcher Kerry Stewart.
I tried to reassure her saying it is on the way, we can help her until they get there. I'll stay on the phone with you and I'll tell you what to do. And she did calm down and she was listening to me. She was carrying out everything I asked her to do.
What's happening, Lynn? She's gurgling. She's gurgling. Put her on her side just in case there's anything in her mouth or she wants to vomit at all. We don't want her choking.
So she was able to help her. I just kept reassuring her really, saying you're doing a really good job, you're doing the best you can for your daughter.
Is the ambulance there, Lynn? No, it's here. It's backing up, but I can't see anybody yet. Please, come so quick.
Mum Lynn knows how lucky she is that Amelia didn't miss out on a life-saving flight.
Yeah, I remember somebody saying there was a light on. They couldn't, she might have to go by road if they couldn't get it fixed, that they were on the phone to the engineers. Yeah, no, somebody said that. Remember that. I was thinking, fix that helicopter. Get it fixed. Get it mended.
And 2 weeks later, guess who's home and back on horseback?
Cheers, mister.
As soon as she left hospital, there was one thing this young horsewoman wanted to do: get back in the saddle.
So walk on. Walk on.
And today, a special visitor is coming to see her.
Look, there's a man coming that saved your life.
Whoa, Miss Amelia.
Is your horse?
Yeah.
You won't remember his name. What do you say?
The last time paramedic Simon Kavanagh saw Amelia was as he handed her over to a team of surgeons. Just a few weeks later, and this much improvement is better than he could ever have hoped for.
Look, he's got a wand.
That's good to see you up and about anyway.
Yeah. You say thank you to Simon. You say thank you. Good girl.
Paramedics rarely get to meet the patients they've helped, so when you see one so young and so much better, it makes the job all the more worthwhile.
She's had no after effects, as you can see.
No, I know. It's just really...
She's not wary of anything. She's just.
No, and she's young enough to forget it all.
She won't remember things that we said. I mean, my earliest memory to think of from about 4. So she's 2. She's not going to remember a thing about this. Thank God.
The speed of Amelia's recovery has surprised everyone, most of all Mum.
She's brilliant. Yeah, she's really well, and just about back to normal. It's been amazing.
The day HeliMed 99 came to call is now little more than a memory, and she couldn't wish for more.
You're back to your cheeky self, aren't you?
Yes, definitely back to cheeky self.
Back to your cheeky self.